because we are using data for this broadcast, because the Wi-Fi in the hotel just isn't working and hasn't been working since yesterday. And so we're about to just do a quick vlog to just talk about what day 3 was like in Lagos, what happened, and why I am just, I'm a little upset right now. But let me just go through my notes so that we can talk really plainly and very frankly about what day 3 was like and why I'm not really sure whether or not Lagos is ready for tourism. So let's jump into it, right? Hey Ivana, good morning everybody. Welcome. All right, so yesterday we did a walking vlog around Lekki and I showed you guys what Lekki was like, etc. I was supposed to be meeting up with a trainer, a personal trainer. So we had a session yesterday at 10 a.m. When I got back to the Airbnb, I was tired, so I didn't think I had jet lag, so I wasn't sure if I would be able to do a training session with my jet lag. I wasn't able to sleep well the night before because of the jet lag. So the trainer was supposed to come at 10. The trainer didn't get there till 11 a.m. late. I find that people here are late a lot, which is cool. You know, I've lived in the Caribbean, or I've stayed in the Caribbean for a few months, and I realized that there's a different time schedule, which is cool. All right. So he gets there at 11, and the person who was assisting me yesterday was supposed to be there at 12 so that I could check out of the Airbnb, and he was going to help me find a new place to stay, right? Because remember, in the Airbnb was nice. It's a luxury place, but there were some things, like you peel back the curtain and there's some things behind. There's a facade, right? All right, so let's jump into it. So the trainer, instead of doing a training session, right, we decided to just have an interview and just, me interview him and just talk with him about what, his training and what ideas he has for training with me, which was cool. All right, so then after that, after that, the time comes, the person who was supposed to come and assist me, he's getting his hair done. So it's like, so he's like, oh, they need another hour. I didn't know that there was going to be a line. So at this point, an hour goes by, 2 hours goes by, 3 hours goes by. The person didn't get there till after 4 p.m. The sun begins to start setting at about 4. So by 5:30 it's dark, right? Okay. So what ends up happening is we leave the Airbnb. I have all of these bags, I have all of these groceries because I went grocery shopping, right? Because people ask, oh Tonya, why do you travel with a backpack instead of all of these rolling suitcases? I travel with a backpack because when it's time to get up and move, I need to be able to move and do what it is that I need to do, right? So I carry my luggage on my back so that I can be mobile and do the things that I need to do. So I got all of these groceries and stuff, and I am exercising. I'm doing an exercise in trust, just relaxing and trusting that I will be taken care of. So the person doesn't get there till after 4. Now I have all of these bags of groceries and all this other stuff. And then meanwhile, now mind you, the day before when I was like, should I check out of this place? The person was like, oh, I know so many places that are better than this place. I know so many places. Oh, this place is nothing compared to all this, that, and the other. So I'm like, okay, cool, right? So he calls a livery service to come pick us and take us around to these different places. So the first place that we went to, so remember, we were leaving from Lekki to go to Victoria Island. The first place that we go to, the cabinets are falling apart. The cupboards are falling apart. There's the smell of mildew in the air. And I'm like, this is Victoria Island. This is the place where they say all of the wealthy people stay and everything. I was stunned. I was stunned. So then I'm like, no, I cannot stay here. So then basically what ends up happening is we start going from place to place to place. One place worse than the next. And these places are not cheap. We went to a place that was 45,000 naira a night. 45,000 naira is about 125 US dollars. We go in there, again, the smell of mildew. The AC is leaking through the wall and the wallpaper is peeling off from the wall over the bed, right? The bathroom it was unbelievable for 125 a night. And I was like, nah, son, I'm not. And I'm thinking to myself, I've left this luxury spot in order to, I'm like, this is unacceptable. So we drive around, and it's gotten to the point that we've been driving around so long that I ask, how much is this cab going to cost? And the guy is like, oh, don't worry. The app is going to calculate it. So after we finish going to all of these spots, the app will calculate how much it's going to cost. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we're driving around. All of these hours are passing. It's dark. And then, and I'm concerned because I'm like, okay, so this guy, my luggage is inside of the car. Both of us are leaving the car with my luggage in it. And I'm like, is this, I'm like, shouldn't one of us stay here with the car? He's like, oh, no, it's okay. So, make a long story short, right? No, to make a long story longer, right? Exactly, Monica, exactly. So then anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just so upset. My mind is all over the place. If you could stay with the ins and outs of the story, that's cool. If not, I understand. Look, if you don't want to hear the first-hand account of what was going on in this story, that's cool. If you want to hear it, listen. If you like me, that's wonderful. If you don't, bounce. It's like, it's very simple. If you don't travel, that's cool, travel. If you don't, that's cool, don't. All right, so anyway, so what ends up happening, right, is we drove around until, right, so I'm like, look, because I'm trying to find a place. At this point, I'm like, because listen, everybody got different standards, and from the standards that I was being shown, I was like, this is not up to par. I didn't just leave this luxury place because they didn't have a kitchen, and then this woman, she brought that raggedy refrigerator with the stains in it to me. I'm like, I didn't leave that place to go to someplace worse. And the thing is, I'm so damn upset. All right, let's keep going forward. All right. So eventually so I'm looking on Airbnb trying to get a spot. I'm having to upload my ID to Airbnb because at this point it's nighttime. It's 8:30 at night. It's dark. It's late. And now I have to try to find an instant book with Airbnb. So Airbnb, it takes time. You got to write back and forth to people. And he's like, oh, just give me the address. We'll drive by the Airbnbs and we'll look and see what they're like. And I'm like, Airbnb doesn't work that way. You have to pay and then they give you the address. Right? But you have to go back and forth with the owner asking all of these questions. And then you're like, okay, then you book. I mean, you all know how it is with Airbnb, right? And so Farad, yes, I checked out of the penthouse before. So that was the thing. And see, so this is what was supposed to happen, right? So I checked out of the penthouse. So I spoke with the person. I asked them, should I keep the penthouse for another day so that we can look around? And he's like, oh, no, it's no problem. I will be there at 12 noon. That way it's early and we can go find a place and it'll still be early. But then he doesn't get there till after 4 when the sun is getting ready to go down, right? So then let's go forward. I'm trying to go back and forth on Airbnb. I'm contacting customer service and all this other stuff because I still needed to get a refund from the place before. So wait, no, it's 5 p.m. at this point. So he doesn't get there till after 4. And then he's, then he doesn't have service on he doesn't get a connection to be able to dial for the car. So now it's 5 p.m. I'm like, I'm going to get charged for another day in this place. And meanwhile, my whole day was spent waiting. That's it. My whole day was spent waiting, and I'm like, I may have to pay for this place, and then when we find another place, I'll have to pay for that new place. So I'll be paying for 2 places. And he's like, oh, no, they can't charge you for another day. They can't charge. And I'm like, do people not understand that when you're dealing with businesses, they can charge you for another day if you check out after the checkout time? So nonetheless, right? Nonetheless, I couldn't find a place on Airbnb because every place was booked for that day. All of the hotels that we were going to were booked. Even the mildewy ones were booked. It was unbelievable, right? So then I get on, and you all know I don't like booking.com because of how they did me when I was in Buenos Aires. But at this point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to booking.com. I went to booking.com, and the first place on the list that I saw was this place that I'm at right now. This was the first place that I saw. And simultaneously, at the same time, he had found this place on hotels.com. So he's like, oh, let's go to this other place. But this place that we are at is in Ikoyi, right? So we leave Victoria Island, we drive past with the turn for Lekki, and then we come all the way back up to Ikoyi, where we are now. Now, meanwhile, you all saw my walking vlog this morning. I'm on a compound. The reason why I want to stay in Victoria Island is because it's walking distance to shops, it's walking distance to groceries, it's walking distance to restaurants, and that was the place that I thought that they would be wealthy people. But when I went there were a bunch of people loitering. There were a lot of people, I'm telling you, just a lot of people just around everywhere selling stuff. And the thing is that these types of things just don't exist in the United States. Like if you go to a wealthy area, there aren't hordes of people lined up, standing around, doing all this stuff, selling things and all this, that, and the other. There just isn't. Because there are ordinances to stop that type of thing from occurring. So nonetheless, so I see the place on booking.com. He sees it on hotels.com. And so he's like, okay, so let's go there. We get here and the place is beautiful. The place it's beautiful. I'll show you outside. When we leave, I'll show you. So this is the place. It's beautiful. It's lovely. As you can see, it's nice, right? However, it's nice. However, when you peel back the curtain, there are issues that are going on over here too. So right now I'm in a hotel room, so it's not an apartment. It's just some place that I needed to sleep for the night. It was 25,000 Naira, which is about $65-70 for the night. It's okay. It's all right. My penthouse, is $500 a week, which it breaks down to about the same price. So I'm like, from my penthouse, I was getting a much better deal. You know what I'm saying? So nonetheless, let's go forward. Time comes for the payment of the cab, and oh, surprise, surprise. All of a sudden, the issues begin. Farah, if you want to know why I didn't stay in the penthouse, go watch that vlog. I can't continue to reiterate the same stuff in vlog after vlog. So let's talk. Time comes for the payment of the cab. So I'm like, how much is it? Right? How much is it? So now the guy, he's like this. Oh my goodness. The app is stopped working. when we reached our first destination, it ended. So now it ended at 700 naira. So it wasn't calculating all of the trips. So I told the guy to just add up what it is that he wants, and he'll tell you, right? So I'm like, okay, really now? So I'm like, how much does he want? So now I'm depending on this person who is local to tell me from all of the places that we went, what is a fair amount? So then I go and I talk to the guy, and the guy, he has an attitude now, the driver. The driver has an attitude, and he's sitting down like this. Driver's sitting down, he got an attitude. So I'm like, sir, how much would you like, right? And the guy is like, 3.5. And I'm like, what is that? How much would you like? And he's like, 3.5. And I'm like, so I need you to tell me. And he's like, 3,000. I'm like, how much is that? He's like, 3,500 naira. So I'm like, okay. The exchange rate is 3.58 for $1. So 3,500 is about $10. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I dig down in my purse, and I get out 4,000 naira, and I give the guy, right? I put it in his hand, and he's like, on the low, just trying to act like he's not, stressed about it. So he goes and he counts it up, so now he's happy, right? So I see the place, I'm happy with the place, we got the stuff in, I'm excited, I'm glad that now I found a place that I can sleep for the night. They got Wi-Fi, they got AC, I'm able to, to go look for new places. And the guy said, oh yes, we just need to get you someplace safe for the night, and then we'll look for some places. So I'm happy. Listen now, this is where things start to take the turn. He says, let's go get some vegetarian food. There's a nice vegetarian. He was like, this is what he says. He's like, you want to go get some vegetarian food? You want to go to this vegetarian restaurant? And I'm like, okay, cool, right? I'm like, that sounds cool, right? At this point, it's after 9. It's 9:15, 9:20, something like that, right? And so we go, the cab driver is still there. The cab driver is happy because a guest at the hotel has treated him to some food. The guy at the hotel was like, so there was this guy that was flirting with the girl at the front desk. And then he started talking some nonsense to me. While I'm trying to pay, he's hovering over me. And I'm like, sir, you're a little close to me while I'm handling money, right? So then they give me my key, and he's like looking. So my room number is on the key and all this other stuff. And I'm like, listen, I don't want any issues. I don't want this guy knowing what room I'm in and all this other stuff. But nonetheless, that was the same guy that bought the cab driver some food. So the cab driver was happy and all this other stuff. So here goes the person who was taking me around. He's like, okay, so we're getting ready to go to the vegetarian restaurant. The driver's food was not ready yet, so the driver was going to drive us to that place and come back so he could get his food, right? This is where things start to get a little dumb for me. The vegetarian restaurant is closed. It's closed. There's a place next to it that is open. So we go to this place. Everything that they have is meat stuff. Okay, everything is meat. The only thing that they had on the menu, which wasn't meat, were Irish potato chips, right? Irish potato chips or cassava chips, right? And I'm like, did I come all the way to Nigeria to eat chips? But that's the only thing that they had on the menu. The only thing that I had to eat the whole day was 2 oranges. But I got bags of groceries of food right here. So if we're not eating at the vegetarian restaurant, I got stuff that I can eat here. So the guy is like, oh, get some chips, get some chips, get some chips. The chips are 600 naira. I'm like, I didn't really want them. So, but you know what? But I'm like, okay, because I knew, because I felt like he would nag me if I didn't get something to eat. So I was like, okay, let me get something to eat. 600 naira, right? So then I ask him if he's going to get anything, if he wants something, right? First of all, he had joked in the car about treating me, and I thought the joke was for real, right? I asked him whether or not he was going to get anything. He was like, "Oh, no." Then he was like, "Oh, he was just going to get some chips." And then I was like, "Okay, you know." So I told him that I would. So I was like, you know, so I figured I would go ahead and treat him because he was like, you know, carry me around, and he invested his day in his evening in trying to help me find some place and all this other stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll treat the guy, right? He gets chicken and chips, which comes up to 2,800 naira. And I'm like counting all this up, and I'm like, okay, so here we go. 2,800 naira. My chips are 6,000 naira. Here we go. 3,400 naira. All right. So now I dig down in my purse and pay my way and homeboy's way. And then I hear some beautiful jazz music. This is where things go from bad to worse, right? I hear beautiful jazz music, and I'm like, I think the people would like this. I think people on YouTube would like seeing, you know, what nightlife is in Nigeria. So I go outside to just go catch some quick footage of the jazz. So I go, I put my phone down and right here on my stomach, and I'm filming the jazz. When I go out and I film, I only film for about 1 minute to 2 minutes, you know, of B-roll. That's it. Here go these women, two women come bum rushing out of the jazz restaurant. Mind you, I'm in the street near our cab, right? They come bum rushing out. What's going on here? Why are you filming us? This, that, and the other. Just going off, right? And then they get into a little argument with him about why are we filming the restaurant from outside, that we don't have permission to film, that this is a private establishment and all this, that, and the other. So I'm going to speed past this part because this part is very ignorant and really stupid to me. So he tells them, he's like, okay, so we won't film. And then he's like, you know, this is so stupid, right? And he starts telling them he's a videographer, and he's telling me that this is so stupid because, you know, if you have a business and, you know, this is advertisement for your business, right? So then I'm like, you know, whatever. I stopped filming. I'm just standing there, just waiting by the cab for the food to come out. Then more and more people come out talking to me and accosting me, right? And they're going on. Now they're arguing about this. Meanwhile, I'm like, at this point, I'm like, it's starting to get rowdy. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to turn on my camera to film this. Cause I'm like, this is becoming ridiculous. So then they're like, so then one woman is like, you know, don't have permission to film me, and she walks off, right? And then so the other woman is talking, and then so I let her talk, and then that was the end of it. I put my camera away, and then that's it. Then this guy comes out, this drunk fool, and this drunk fool is like, oh, who are you and why are you this, that, and the other? And I told him, I said, listen, I'm Tonya TKO from the Tonya TKO show. And he's like, oh, I know your show. So he's like, give me a hug and all this other stuff, blah, 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 right? And then the woman comes back out, and she's arguing, and she's now screaming, and I'm confused as to what the F is going on. Somebody else comes out and tells the cab driver to move. So now the cab driver drives forward, and my black ass is there by my effing self while homeboy is inside of the restaurant. I'm standing there by myself while this woman is hovering above me, screaming at me. And these mother effers are holding her back. You know how people are like, no, let me go, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what in the world? And then she's like, let me go, let me go. And she's like trying to get at me about what? And I'm confused by all of this. Meanwhile, the cab driver is now nowhere near me. The man is inside the restaurant picking up his food and mine. I'm standing out there with 1, 2, 3 women. One woman put her hands on my shoulders trying to talk to me. She's like this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I'm backing up away from her. Right? And then so there's 1, 2, 3 women, one man who had come out to ask me why I look unhappy. Then there's the drunk fool on the other side of me, and this wild woman who is screaming, talking about let her go, while people are trying to pull her back. Meanwhile, remember, I put my phone away and I was no longer filming at this point. Then the drunk guy is like, you need to fucking leave. You need to fucking leave. Right? And I'm like, I'm over there like, why did I leave my purse with my mace inside of the hotel? I'm feeling very vulnerable because I'm like, I'm here by myself. The cab has moved forward. This guy is in the restaurant, and I'm surrounded by one man, 2 women, the drunk guy, and this screaming woman. So I'm like trying to look for my exit, but I got this guy to my left right here, 2 more people over there. There's no way for me to really get back towards the cab because this woman is circling around from this way while this other guy is right here. Right? And I'm thinking to myself, this is not a good situation, right? I'm like, this is not a good situation. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? There's a level of lawlessness that is existing right now at this moment, because if I do call the police, if the police do get involved, what will that situation be like? We've already heard about the bribery of the police officers and the nonsensical things that exist and the lawlessness that exists. And I'm just like, all right. So then finally, homeboy comes out of the place. He sees the ruckus and he's like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? This, that, and the other. Then, he's trying to pacify the situation, but the argument is continuing to ensue, right? And then this woman approached, the same one who had her hands on my shoulders, she comes and she approaches me right here in my face, and she goes to put her hands up to touch me. And I say, do not touch me. And she stopped. And she did not touch me, because at this point it was becoming a little bit too much, because at this point I had already turned and averted my body and had my back towards the cab, and I'm backing up to go towards the cab, and this is when she comes up to put her hands on me, and I say, do not touch me. And she leaves her hands and she doesn't touch me, and she backs up. I'm backing up to go back towards the cab. And then there's some other girl who comes out. Now, these people are Nigerian American, right? And this girl is like, there is a way that you could have apologized. And I'm like, but I am unapologetic. And she's like, well, if that's the case, then you need to leave. And I'm like thinking to myself, don't these dumbasses see that I'm leaving, right? So then we start backing up. So he's like, hey, now let's go. Right. And so we're backing up towards the cab. Right. Meanwhile, so we go and we get inside the cab. Right. Listen to this foolishness, because the nonsense is not over yet. The nonsense is not over. At this point, I have no more appetite. I didn't want these effing fries to begin with. Right. I didn't want the fries to begin with. Right. So then we get back in the cab, we're driving back towards here, right? I'm just so done with all of this. I come up to my room, the guy who's assisting me comes up to the room too, and I attempt to start eating, right? But I have no appetite at this point. And he's like, your face does not have to look like that. And he's telling me that I need to fix my damn face. And I'm like, you know what? If my face is troubling you, you should just leave, right? I'm like, I have a right to be upset, right? I'm like, I have a right to be upset. And he's like, and then I think to myself, why is he still here? So I'm like, is there a particular reason that you're still here? Right? And he's like, oh, I'm calling the, I'm calling a cab, right? And I'm like, okay, well, because I'm like, it's time. You know what I mean? And so he gets up and he's standing by the door and he's still finagling with his phone. This is what he said to me that just nearly sent me through the roof. He says, you're not going to take care of the cab driver for taking us to and from that place? And I'm like, what? I'm like, first of all, you invited me to this restaurant. You joked with me about paying. And I'm like, we both went there. The restaurant was not open. I didn't even get any food. I got some damn chips. I paid 20. I was like, so I'm supposed to pay for the cab ride there, pay for your food and mine, and then pay for the cab ride back? And he's like, oh no, you know what? No, don't worry about it. So at this point, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I go and I get 500 naira from my purse, and I'm like, here, just give this to the cab driver then. Because at this point, I just want to be done with it. The same cab driver that during this altercation never got out of his car, never came back to see what was going on. But when we were in the cab ride, he was like, oh, I heard something, but I didn't know that it was an altercation. I thought everyone was laughing and joking. It was not until I heard that voices were being raised. I did not know what was going on. So I'm thinking to myself, so this? And so I just said, you know what? So I get 1,000 naira out of my purse, and I go downstairs. Because first the guy's like, no, I will handle it. I don't want you to be upset. He's like, I don't want you to be upset, etc., right? And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, let me just take care of this situation. I go down to the cab driver and I ask the cab driver, I'm like, sir, how much money are you expecting for taking us to and from this place? And he said, oh, no, I'm not charging you, right? And I'm like, sir, how much money would you like? He's like, no, it's nothing. I drove you all day. I came back. I had to get my food. It's nothing. I'm not charging you. Here, I'm going to put someone in timeout because I'm not in the mood for nonsense in my comments right now. Right, so let me finish up my story, right? All right, so here we go. My screen is frozen. So here we go, right? So I go to the cab driver. He says he's not charging us. So I give him 500 naira. If you would have seen the look on this man's face, the look on his face was a look of glee and jubilation, like he had just gotten over. He was like, oh, like, oh my goodness, look, I got the windfall tonight, right? And I'm just like, so I said to the cab driver, I said, you're happy? He said, oh yes. I said to the guy, I said, you're happy? And he I don't know what it is that he said. I just turned my back and started walking away. Because I'm like, at this point, I'm done. I'm just done with this. I think it's ridiculous because I'm thinking to myself, what did I need the assistance of this guy for? I was ready at 12 noon. I could have caught me. If we were going to go through all of this, I could have done my Airbnb search earlier in the day. I could have done my Airbnb search earlier in the day, caught me an Uber, gone to the place that I found on Airbnb, and just called it a day. Why did I need to ride around for 4.5 hours going to all of these moldy, mildewed places? only to come back to a place that I seen on booking.com. I could have just cut out all of that. And then it's like, why did I need to go through all of those steps? Why did I need to go through why did I need to do that? All of this, why did I need to start out my day at 5 p.m. when I could have started out earlier in the day, just put my bags on my back and just go at this? Why did I need to go through all of that to come right back around to something that was on booking.com anyway? That's the part that I'm confused about. I'm not exactly sure, because when all of the ruckus was taking place and I could have been getting beat down in the street, the person who came there with me was not there with me. The cab driver that we hired did not step outside of the car. So it's like, why did I need to be out there unprepared with no protection, nobody to protect me, vulnerable? Why did I need to be out there at 10 o'clock at night, standing there, getting accosted by some wild loco chicas and some drunken man? Why? So I'm like, forget that. So today I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to grab my bags and do what it is that I need to do. Grab my bags and just do what it is that I need to do for me today. I've already booked the room on Airbnb, and then I'll just catch a cab and just go. Look, they got Uber out here. Just catch an Uber and then just go and do my thing. All right. So that's the full story of my day 3. And I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted. And part of the reason that I ask whether or not Nigeria is ready for tourism, I'll show you this. I'll show you. Right. So it's like, this room is beautiful. I'll show you. It's a small room, but it's a small room, but it's a nice little executive suite. It's nice. You know, they have the little lovely things. They got the closet. It took me so long to get out because the safe is not working. It's not even in focus. The safe is not working. And this is the bathroom, right? Look at the water. Oh, it's running now. Oh, look, it's coming out. Oh, it's working. Let me see if the toilet is flushing. Hold on. Oh, it's flushing now. All right. Okay, so there. Wi-Fi not working. Water coming in and out, right? Water coming in and out. And I'm like, you know, it's like this is the dichotomy that I talk about with Nigeria, where you have some amazing things, but then you peel back behind the curtain and you see that things are not functional. It's like you're in this beautiful hotel. The lights did go out last night, but they have these huge, gigantic generators. If you can see the size of these generators are the size of, they're huge, right? So the generators come on and turn the power back on, right? And so And so Sandra is asking, what does my intuition tell me about staying? Yeah, I have no issues with staying, but I think that we need to operate a little bit differently. We need to keep our eyes open. We need to pull up our New York sense and sensibility and listen to our intuition and stay safe. And you know what? I'm going to tell you this, right? It's very difficult. It's very difficult to be it's difficult being a woman, right? It's difficult being a woman because, on the one hand, as a woman, it is essential for us to be able to rest in our femininity. It's essential. However, when you're in situations like this, you really can't put your safety, your comfort, and other stuff in other people's hands. You really have to take control of those things yourself. And so I'm going to make this statement to the people because there's a lot of different comments coming up inside of the comments, right? And I'm going to try to say this as nicely as possible, but I don't know how nice I can really say this. To the people who are like, run home, leave, you shouldn't have gone alone, that's what you get for traveling by yourself and all this other stuff, right? Please close your mouth. Close your mouth. Just be quiet. If you wait for other people before you do all of your travels, you're going to end up waiting your life away. So many people never get the chance to really fully live and experience because you're so busy waiting for permission from other people. You're so busy waiting for somebody to do it with you or for you. Was yesterday a rough day? Yes, it was. But you see, so many of us don't take the time to really analyze a situation and see how we participated in that situation and how we could do things differently. One of the things that I could have done differently is I could have made sure that I was not out there by myself in that situation last night. From the time that those people came out and they were already agitated, I was standing outside just chilling. But I could have gotten back in the cab at that point. I could have gone back into the restaurant with the guy. I could have stood exactly by the cab and had my hand on it. That way, if they wanted to accost me, the cab driver would be closer. And when the cab driver moved, we were already in that altercation when the cab driver moved. But I could have made sure that I kept myself positioned in such a way to be able to be near the cab driver. I could have made sure that I traveled with my purse. So like today when I went out to do my walking vlog, I made sure that I had my mace on me, make sure that I have tools to protect myself at each turn. So there were things that I could have done differently, and that's part of what made me feel so vulnerable in that situation. So the people who are like, come back now, I have my trip booked for a certain amount of time, right? I have my trip booked for a certain amount of time, and I'm going to spend the time that my trip is booked for. My intuition is telling me that everything is okay, that everything is fine, that I just need to shift and reattune to the way that things are and just get my New York sensibilities about me, pay attention, stay alert, keep my eyes open, and continue to move forward. So that is what it is that I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And AH is saying, come on now, we all know that there are certain countries you shouldn't go to alone. Groups and tour guides are safer. In any country that you go to, groups and tour guides are safer. Listen, I'm a New Yorker, and it would be safer for me to walk with a group and a tour guide in damn New York. But yet when I go to New York, I still ride the subway with myself. Listen, California is safer with groups. It's like, whenever it comes to travel, there are calculated risks that you must take in order to travel. There are calculated risks that anybody must take to travel anywhere. And if you go around living your life in trepidation and in fear of everything, instead of using Oh wow. My data is about to end. I just got notification that my data is going to end. So let me end the broadcast here. I need to get more data because as you see, there's no Wi-Fi at the hotel, so I've been using my data on this. So I'll talk with you out or when we're at the next place and I get more data and we have Wi-Fi at the next location. All right, Tonya TKO and I'm out. Peace.